We continue with 20, line 3, and to show you real quick where these notes are going to come from, Ezekiel 22:22. The verb also, H 11:7, WMG 120, line 20, C driver, JQR 40, 1950, page 366. Here it seems to have been a special sense. XR 117, it is transitive, equaling Gila. It is used in the sense of to discover, examine, by Judah Halevi, quoted by Ben Yehuda, the Thesaurus 4, entry 2102, that strict classicist would hardly have used it, thus unless he interpreted it so, somewhere in the Old Testament. Here we have the passage to that transitive usage. See D 716, and 4, see esto soy, os o ethnikos, Constance Post 238.1, MH Construction, Segal, section 422, used in the same manner, Ba Abadah Zarah 5a, middle. A similar expression in T, MG 238, line 12, see Proverbs 114. The paragraph of Isaiah 54:13, used contrary to the context, so also John 6:45, who deviates from 70, thus showing it to be the current, to be a current tag, 7:16. Compare 15:15. See God of Knowledge, D 3:15:5, an MH assembly for religious purposes. See D 2:22, TMG 2:38, line 10. Apparently the same assembly as is called D 6:15, standing before the many. See also 2 Corinthians 2:6. 2:4 is the really interesting one, right? 6. Didagraphy, partly erased by the scribe, i.e. investigation according to the law, the same as Din Torah, Baba, Mezia 30b. See also 15:11. Remember, when we don't have anything listed with it, we're talking about, this manuscript. 7. i.e. as conducted by C77. The clause, until the day that, line 5, is governed both by let reprove, line 4, and by let no man agree. The writer apparently forgot how he started the sentence. See D 5:14. Iwachad, and used in the MH sense, the sinner is Asur Ba Hana'a. See Nadarim 4:1. In D 6:2, the ordinary MH terms, Malakha and Mammon. 8. See Daniel 4:10, Enoch 1:9, and so on. TMG 238, line 10. See Psalm 82:6, sons of the Highmost, which Targum translates Angela In English we do the Angela Meroma, Enoch 9:3, Holy Ones of Heaven, Heaven equals God and MH, Sir 42:17, same phrase, Targum Naphtali 8:6, the Pe'el, only Genesis 5:29, restored after H 5:11, but the text of A and Z 7:9 suggests that myth could be used by itself in this meaning, directed against those who carry out the laws, but do not respect them in the way the sect demands. Aboth 3:15 similarly mentions him who despises the appointed time, see line 10. 9, C 112, plural predicate after kol and singular participle, see also 8:19 and so on. Ezra 14:3, Ezekiel 14:3. But see, we're seeing two. Isaiah's super short of a name, and Ezekiel 14:3 with 70 MT het elu. MT adds there. Here translates as most versions do, but perhaps rather defilement with V. Immunditas and 3:17. 10. Line 11 shows that divine punishment is intended extermination by the sword, eat one, and so on. In the Aboth passage quoted above, the sinner is told that he has no share in the world to come. Well, what about the good that he's done? But maybe you have to deal with that first, right? In Ephesians 5:5, various sinners are compared with idol worshippers as here and told they have no share in the kingdom of Christ. See also 1 Corinthians 6:10, Galatians 5:21. The parallelism of context and phraseology strongly suggests that the house of the law is the post-messianic age of resurrection. Possibly, one might compare my Father's house, John 14:2. Again, that Father thing takes it away from him. It's a separation term. We could also say the provider, who has provided me. Well, they're in charge. 11, paragraph of Isaiah 28:14, C 114, C 5:12, 12, C 13:16, Nehemiah 10:1 and MH, C 15:6, C 6:19 in the paragraph of Jeremiah 31:30, 13, C 3:1, punishment for families as sinners. See also Psalm of Solomon 9:10. The Bible has stuff where you can kill a whole tribe and, not just family, but the whole tribe of a people who've, if somebody's done something and, that one would think that's going too far, right? Of course, the UN tolerates that from certain nations, but other nations are terrorists if they fight back against those sort of people, right? The Mishnah, Sanhedrin 10:3, similarly excludes certain groups collectively from the world to come. The most opposite for our passage is the case of the spies whose loss of future life is deduced from Numbers 14:37, a verse closely linked with the 40 years. And to show you real quick from where we're going to be reading, C line 1, of this page. Perhaps the paragraph of Isaiah 57:1 the section of Deuteronomy 2:14. MT adds the whole generation, probably an intentional omission. See 3:15. Now, you see definitely when it comes to what they call the New Testament, you see some intentional additions and subtractions. Sometimes you see something in the margins that ends up in a later text. Sometimes something appears out of nowhere. Another allusion to the quarrel, as in 121. See perhaps Biastai, Matthew 12:11. 15, also H21 and 5:11. It is the paragraph of Proverbs 19:23 where man of lies is the antonym to poor man, which is probably the reason why the term was adopted by the sect of the poor. See 720c. I would suggest that anthropos, tas, anamias, amartias, 2 Thessalonians 2:3 is a direct translation, not via 70 of the same term of 70, Isaiah 57:4, Adamas, translated Schechter. This is supported by the Arabic Dajjal, Antichrist. Well, Antichrist is not quite how you translate because it's not against the anointed. But you could say the great deceiver, golden one, but not golden one in a positive way. From Syriac, Dagala, liar. Dougal, often translated Schechter and P. Because remember, the Syrian came before the Arabic, but MT 38:40 is the whole desert period. Exodus 16:35 and so on. 16 is Hosea 3:4. Well, okay, the one part. And 17, a midrashic interpretation of En Ephod U Teraphim, a Targum Tir, the translated here, Teraphim by Machawe teacher. The two concepts in various rhetorical disguises appear together. 2 Corinthians 15:3, Psalm of Solomon 4:14, John 8:50. Second note, Isaiah 59:20, C2:5 and 6:5. And with the Targum Tugpi Sadia, MT in Jacob, the same reading. Also where Israel is substituted as in 6:5, CD 5:2, Malachi 3:16 with insertions. MT Nithbaru adds that they that feared the Lord, intentional change to make the eschatological sense clearer. Note that the Targum P rendered the verb by a participle, but also do so in verse 13. 18, see Daniel 12:3, Sir 42:2, see Targum Judah. Oh, Testament of Judah. Testament, okay. 26:1. I read a translation of the 12 patriarchs for the channel. CD 3:10, Ways of God. 20, Isaiah 56:1. See also quoted Testament of Judah 22:2, where Del The'u, Enoch 91:14. See Malachi 3:18-21, MT Le Rasha, MT Elohim, Exodus 26 ends with that love me. Because remember, the 5 books of Moses is where the love of God theme focuses in the Bible. Presumably read we, asa, mt, we, osa, or is it we, asa? Deuteronomy 7:9, attached by common element. 22, mt has shmera mitzwatham, conflation with Zechariah 11:11, quote 720c. This meaning was used in MH, see Barakoth 3a. We have the paragraph of Genesis 10:25. See Jubilees 8:8. Similarly, the house of Absalom, H5:9, the house of Judah, Z4:11. See Nehemiah 11:18, Sir 36:18, 49:6, the Psalm of Solomon 8:4, Matthew 27:53, the same as Ir HaMikdash 12:1, 23, the paragraph of Micah 3:11, contrary to the context similarly employed in D5:18 and 10:16, the abstract noun used for the infinite constructive, a procedure not uncommon in medieval Hebrew of all periods. See 9:1, 4:6, 10:9, 1:3, Ezekiel 23:38, 4:8, 5:6, 12:1, H 12:8, and so on. For the syntax of 3:2, MT has my sanctuary, C 7:11, and something is equivalent to Isaiah 19:22, and we have Aish. Isn't that, what's that passage? No longer call me Baal, but call me Ashi or something, or Aishi or something like that, because, the calling of the household lord, implied stuff to people, right? But that's not what we have here. It's just what it reminds me of. 24, restored after Hashik, D 10:25, followed apparently by Ha, Tha, see Numbers 17:20. We have we shook. Okay, maybe it's supposed to be Hashik. See D for 14 and 15. For the meaning of the term, most important passage is D 3:13. And to show you what we're looking at here. Also, D225, where it is a general term. Here in institution, the etza mentioned in D819, which affected the promotions and demotions. D524, 25, created as antonym to the boundary of wickedness. TMG239, line 6, which is Malachi 1:4, Ecclesiastes 10:8, which is but Shabbat, 110a, referred to violation of rabbinic laws. See also 1:16:26, Deuteronomy 2:14, quote line 14. So H9:11, perhaps exegesis to Tzrara Yehuda, Isaiah 11:13. So 119D 5:7, C 4:11, 27, C D 1:17, and 8:4, C 3:20, 7:13, D 5:1, and so on. Predicate in line 33, see 13.4, and Numbers 27:21. 28, see line 32, H2:2, as restored by Rabinowitz, JBL 69, 1950, 39. Akkadian restoration that I actually am considering doing because of what I'm doing over there. The fuller version, D1 24-26, the rabbinic forms of confession, see Yoma 4:2, lack the reference to the forefathers and the justification through the latter. Tzaduk Hadin was a current concept, see Psalm of Solomon 9:8 and 10. See, indeed, of all we have sinned, and what Mar Samuel Yoma 87b states to be the essential part of the confession for the Day of Atonement, the service of the synagogue, 125, and so on. Later on, suitable paragraphs were inserted before it, because of all was understood as but. M.H. Segal, page 39, with comments in pointed manuscripts. B.H. only Jeremiah 42:6 in the rabbinic confession just mentioned. The B.H. form appears 29. D 124. Hirsha knew the paragraph of Psalm 106:6, the practice based on Leviticus 26:40, quoted by Jubilees 122, CT MG 248, line 16-17. For I remember my guilt and the faithlessness of my forefathers, adaptation of the confession, the same idea, Daniel 9:16, D 126 is damaged, but seems to have been shorter. 30, also D 9:17, the two worlds parallel to Psalm 85:12, whereas in D 126, 426, 82 TMG 249, line 19-20, Jubilees 22:15, Tzedakah comes second. C Be Yad Ramah 10:3, D 5:12, and so on. 31. The three nouns in this order: 1 Kings 2:3, C 4:8, also D 9:10. 32. The same phrase as D 6:15, 6:21, 7:20 and 24, 8:11 and 16, 9, 5, and 19. The spelling here is foreshadowed by Hachid. Yeah, it really helps if instead of that we get some more of that. I mean, this is way too late for 70-something years later, right? D 6:3, the word appears as noun in Deuteronomy 33:5, 1 Chronicles 12:17, but only in the latter place does 170 tradition complete translated it as Enosis. See further Yalon Kiryat Sefer 28, 1951, 66 Burroughs, Od Test, Study 8, 1950, 173. Our passage speaks against Haberman's view. Ada wa Aduth, page 36, that Y denotes one rank of the sect. If one accepts the view proposed at 21, it should, however, be considered whether Yachid is here not short for Marah Yachid. So amended in view of H2:2, C line 28, and H2, not the one with the W. The article was originally omitted by a scribe, perhaps as a result of using the term and speaking another language. C 6:6 and 33, the paragraph of Psalm 40, 17 are 75, predicate to that hold fast, line 27. See Enoch 81:7, 34, Psalm 91:16. So understood by the medieval Jewish comes. Is that supposed to be commoners? Conflation with Psalm 37:40 and 33:21. See Zephaniah 3:12, a poor people, probably ended the work. 20 has one line less than 19. So we are now officially in that portion. And to show you what we're going to go over here, and we have some differencing in paging at times, but so 9:1, the section of Leviticus 27:29, taken also as B, Arakin 6b, as referring to judicial executions, taken as verbal noun. See Mal 20:23, not in MT, Hefil for passive. See 5:7, MT has Yachorim, pregnant construction. GK section 119Y, MT, Min Ha Avam, MT, Moth, Yamoth. The construction is frequent in D and recurs in Benjamin Nehawandi. First traces in Chronicles, Kropat syntax, page 24. See Be Dene Umath in a Gentile court. B Gittin 44a. Well, perhaps commoner wouldn't be whether you're a Jew or not, but a commoner would be well, as a rule, even back then, probably the majority of people weren't religious, and if they were observant, they weren't religious. So, but but that may be considered closer to what democracy, right? Because it's just just what the community decides, rather than deciding based on scripture or something. It's what the community decides. I.e., those condemned to death by the sect are to be handed over to the Gentiles for execution, as was done by the Sanhedrin, Shurer 261, and prescribed by Nehawande 1b, see Ginsburg, page 216. The problem of executions occupied the rabbis in the 4th century. On the 300s, the Catholic Church was getting pretty strong, so they didn't really have any hope of doing their own executions. B, Sanhedrin 37b, and the early, is that Karatim, or what's the actual thing? It's QR something. The Karaites, anyways. But see Bar Sasson, Zion 15, 1952, 52. Anan in Nimoy, page 13. The explanations of Schechter, prohibition of going to Gentile courts. Ginsburg, prohibition of forswearing enjoyment, 1615. And Vidberg, prohibition of employing Gentiles to kill a Jew. All overlook that the sect would hardly have added to the biblical death penalties. Well, the typical rabbinic thing would have, but yeah. On page 167, note Ginsburg goes halfway towards the view proposed here. 2. Same phrase as 8:14, equivalent to Leviticus 19:18, a rare MH form of the participle, Segal page 81, C22. 3. Biblicizing imitation of MH construction, Segal page 206, also the line 10, D78, Leviticus 19:17, quoted in full, line 7, see also D61. The addition before witnesses agrees with V. Publique in rabbinic law. Hathra'ah had to be made before the crime, Sanhedrin 41a, where our verse is not quoted here after the deed, as in line 18 proves. 4. Abstract noun for infinite construct, C 2023, mention D6:8 for the punishment, C 14:22, D7:8, similar Pesachin 113b says, I think it's supposed to be cha, if that's just a, were also the subjects of this and the next paragraph are combined. 5. See the Talmudic X is not written. What is written is Y, to bring out the full significance of a verse. By X, I don't mean the letter, they mean, the reference. Right? Equals Nehemiah 1:2. See the exegesis of Deuteronomy 32:35 in Romans 12:19. And it's good to admit that there's people of other religious groups that understand your passage, whether they know it or not, via their reference. MT, the Lord, substitute name for God, used also in D 8:13, much evidence collected by Yalon. Kiriath Sefer 28, 1951, page 71. Note especially Shabbath 104a. 104a. Wow. That is the name of God. Well, there's the root. That's the same as Eve, but they put a yud in front of it. So increasing existence is one of the ways to give that meaning. For similar usage in South Arabia, see Hartman, D. Abrit, D. Arabich, Frog, 1909, page 14 to 15. 6. See Numbers 30:15. El Yom, same law. D 5:26, quoting Leviticus 19:17. See also Z 7:2. See line 17. 7. Emphatic word order of D 7:16. Barabim, Yelech, Rachel, Schechter, amending. His sin is upon him. Leviticus, he condemns himself to death. Charles, he testifies against himself. All take lines 6 to 8 in a separate law. But if you're going to go to the Christian doctrine, it's like, what law system says, what court can you stand before and say, some hero did something in the past, and so you shouldn't punish me for my sins? That's sort of what they're claiming, right? Equivalent to Leviticus 19:17, also quoted D 5:26. The more obvious, Leviticus 5:1, was used by our sect for a different purpose. See line 12. MT, Amethecha, C 6:29, perhaps quoted from a sectarian work. See further 16:10, applied D 6:27 to insubordination. See 1 Samuel 25:26. The Talmud discusses whether a man may make justice for himself. B. Baba, 27b. And to show you what we're about to talk about here, i.e., for example, it says, Mashbe aka ane Shibuath 8, 2-3, for occasions when this may be done of see also chapters 6-8. See Leviticus 14:7, Ma Shibuath 8:4. In the street, see, however, Baba Metzea 30b, where restitution is made ba Sadeh as opposed to in the town. 10. See line 3. Same phrase, 15:3-4. I.e., me umbram, quite un-Hebrew, perhaps Arabic. An emrahim. Remember that Arabic, although it doesn't really refine itself till the Quran about a millennia earlier, you have what could be called Arabic. The Mishnah, locally cited, permits this. 11 in Deuteronomy 6:5, so translated by Tugzpa and possibly 70, but 2 Kings 23:25 only Tug, and used in Sir 7:30 in Mubarakath as midrashic interpretation, perhaps Mudah D 10:16 is this word, but there it must mean his power. This meaning probably also Z 12:10, see numbers 5:21 and 12, paragraph Leviticus 5:1, which the Targum of Jonah makes refer only to false oaths. Okay, be very careful with your oaths. Probably based on Jubilees 17:2, but the Karaite Aaron of Nicomedia treats this type of procedure under Leviticus 5:1. The practice is prescribed in various cases by Benjamin Nehawandi, and Allah u Shivu'ah was proclaimed in northern France in the late 10th and 11th centuries for the recovery of stolen goods. Avadah, see the responsum in Muller, Teshubath, Sarafat, Ulothir, number 97, a much more restricted use in cases of pilfering only, and Maimonides is code Gizlah 4:8. The commentary Magid Mishnah calls this a Gaonic ordinance. 13, paragraph and commentary on numbers 5:8, MT, but if the man have no kinsman, here summarized, the Mishnah, Baba Kama 9:11, concludes he must be a proselyte. It is significant that in our sect, such a case calls for no comment. And see also 15:4 from verse 7, thus extending the provisions about confession. Also, this case, rabbinic law ignores the confession, a purely legal declaration. See Lieberman, Hellenism in Jewish Palestine, 140, and a lot of Orthodox for the past 70 some years have said that the best time for the Jews was, with exception of the Crusades, the millennia before, in the Holy Land. (14) MT Milavad, substitution of a less ambiguous word. See 5.5, 11.18, MT of atonement. The phrase here is from Leviticus 5.25, and i.e. including the added fifth, Leviticus 5.24, so baba, 9.11. This is stressed by the use of a word from verse 25, expresses the further extension of a provision to a further case, here foreshadowed by the choice of lost for stolen in line 10, i.e. Nimtzeth, MH perfect, Segal, page 93, 90, the same omission, 8, 16, 15, MH form after analogy of 3AE, Infirma, GK, section 93, SS, 2, not 2, see also the complicated rules in Baba, Metzea, 2.8, 16, usually We'im, 11.8, 13, 13.6, and so on. In contrast to shall have, line 14, i.e., it never becomes their property. The sect does not acknowledge Yeush, derelictio, declared to be biblical, Baba, Metzea 2, Baba, Metzea 2:1-8b. For capital crimes, see Ezekiel 18:24 only. In Pentateuch for civil crimes. One would that could be Ezekiel, but Ezra sounds more like what you'd expect that from, right? 17 in BH only against the Lord, Leviticus 5:21, C 7:11. 18 BH infcust used like MH verbal noun, perhaps the camp overseer, 13:7, not the overseer of all camps, 14:8. In D 6:20 we find only the overseer over the work of the many, who, as the O in Z 14:13, administers property, but the O is also Z 13:7, a spiritual guide. The 70 translates all cases of the root, Bakar and Pentateuch by forms of epis kapa'u, hence our O was originally perhaps no more than a Hebrew adaptation of epis kappas as financial administrator of Hellenistic cult societies. See TWNT. Maybe I need to stop and give you the abbreviation portion again at the end of this program. 608 to 610. Thus, the evolution of the office in our sect furnishes the link with the church. The Essene officials, see DuPont Somner Manual, page 12, resemble the O in function, but not in name. See also D 620. I want to get at least page 50 here. And let me show you real quick what we're looking at to comment on. 20. A biblicizing adaptation of MH, Nigamar Deno. A similar procedure is allowed by R. Simeon, folder 150, T. Sanhedrin 5.5, N. and by the Karaite Aaron of Nicomedia, Kether Torah 3:10b, but in both cases they must be witnesses reporting one and the same offense, not subsequent ones. 21. The full phrase is set apart unto himself from the purity of the many. D 7:3, shorter D 6:25. The criminal is relegated to the novitiate. See D 5:13. According to D 7:19 to 22, this state was only of temporary duration. It could hardly be permanent. Imprisonment in cases of murder proved, but in the absence of the ritual requirements of evidence, is prescribed by Sanhedrin 10:5. See Isaiah 8:2, Sanhedrin 3:2, 4:5. The term has the technical meaning not unfit. See line 23. 22. See line 6 in MH. Dineh Mamanoth covers all cases involving possible restitutions or fines. Since the term is an extension due to legal practice, we have here a biblicizing substitution for it. Note, however, that D 7:5-8 imposes for crimes against property punishment ne and nosh. In this respect, the sect differed essentially from rabbinic law. 23. The whole is an interpretation of 2 or 3, Deuteronomy 17:6, 19:15. For the ways the rabbis dealt with these, see Rabbi Akiba, Makoth 1:7. The differentiation between penal and civil law rests on shall be put to death, Deuteronomy 17:6. See Matthew 18:16. Kunst Apost 2, 21:1, 49:1. Can Apost 75, which demand 3 witnesses if possible, just like Josephus's Antiquities 4:8-14, and there's a New Testament verse, right? And with page 10, line 1, see the paragraph of Deuteronomy 17:6, of age, 1 Chronicles 17:11 only, paragraph of Exodus 30:14, i.e. 20 years needed for full membership, kind of like what Eckankar makes it seem that you have to have, but they make it sound like, oh, you're, before 2 years. It's like most people don't get this. It's like everybody gets their certificate for the second initiation if they want to get it before the 2 years are up. And, you finish the discourses on the way to the higher initiate by the time, in 17 total years as a member. But, and anyways, we're referring to something totally different here, but 15:6, same regulation, Fetha, Nagast, page 278, J. Sanhedrin 4:9, 22b, for judges in capital cases. 2, a term for the sect. See the quotation 2019 and its technical use, Psalm of Solomon 2:37, 3:16, and so on. Perhaps the paragraph of Exodus 18:21 about judges. 3, see D 8:17 as against 8:22, the law of Moses, which suggests that mitzvah was the sect's oral law. This explains that transgressors of it would be at liberty. In D 5:12, 8:22, this is opposed to errors MH be mezid. The full phrase D 8:18, until his deeds are purified from all perversity. See Isaiah 1:16. The form supports Honeyman's analysis of the verb as medgem vetus testament 1. Is it testament? 1951, 64, page. See also D99. End of the community, see 12.6. D8, 18 to 19. Though without scriptural basis, the unfitness of sinners for testimony is stated in Sanhedrin 3.3, fuller than Sanhedrin 5.5, as well as Const Apost 2.49.2. 4, we have refer this to 7.6 and refer this to 8.16. The same use as 12.5, 13.1, 15.15. The Mishnah, Sanhedrin 1.3, still knew of courts of 10 in temple law, even in the 3rd century in Palestine. Rabbi Joshua ben Levi talks of 10 as if it were the normal strength of a court, but Sanhedrin 7b, the early Qaraites had courts of 10. Poznanske, R.E.J. 45, 1902, page 67, since the judges also had administrative functions, 1413, Ginsburg, page 121, may be right in connecting them with the Deca Protoi, Schurer, 218. Essene courts, on the other hand, had not less than 100 members. Joss, BJ 289, the, which in Numbers 35:24 means a court, is Sanhedrin 1.6, specified as 10, are elected by Sanhedrin 3.1, 5, D 9.13, Sir 6.8, neither is a full parallel. And to show you what we're about to go over in our comment here. 6, C6.2, the council, D8.1, contained a smaller proportion of priests, no Levites being specified. Philo Spec Leg 490 concluded from Deuteronomy 17:9 that the highest court must include priests. Well, it'd be nice if government kind of had some attachment like that, but not like they're forcing their conservative opinion on things. Because honestly, you can't have separation of church and state, because everybody will govern according to their rules as far as they're constrained, but see Deuteronomy 32:10 and the versions. The ba is introduced also in an adaptation of Deuteronomy 32:10 in a Piyut Davidson Thesaurus, Aleph, 1839. Hethbonen, Isaiah 1:3, is taken by Tug as study of the law. The article shows that this cannot be a Hagu. Consider ye the opening words of the book, as has been asserted. Well, that's how an oracle would work, right? They're considering something, but it might be the Aramaic, but there is no Hagutha in any Jewish dialect or in Syriac. Okay, hence read Ha, Hagge, Targum, Hagia, Syriac, Hegaya. The verb bh means bh, to study, in J. Megillah 1:72b, to apply a homiletic rule. In the early Lam Ar Proem 1. Hogim appears to be the side of Mashnim, Mishnah teachers, hence H is an etymological substitute for Mishnah, but it was used outside sectarian circles. Hageh, Job 37:2, is translated by 70, i.e. the Meleta, the word used among the Jews for Torah study. Well, when you interpret an oracle, it's going to be according to that thing, right? The similarity of Blondheim Parlors, Judeo-Romans, page 75, similarly by P and Sadea, but not Ak, Sie, Tugva, Genra 49, 2 quotes this interpretation, spelling Haggah. Or is it? Okay, it is Haggah. Guy shouting for joy, the boot, and the ox head, and specifies it as a working out new halakha. Well, you can say it's the bringing of something up, calling attention to something and bringing it out. Yeah, that works. Sadia, Schechter, Sadiana, 1903, page 5, line 6, uses Haggah for the oral law gathered in the Mishnah. For possible quotations from this book, see 1610, note 1, see 7.5, hardly the title of a book, but rather all that has been revealed of the law, Deuteronomy 8:1, 7, Numbers 8:24, where it applies to the Levites, Leviticus 27:7, the limit of full value, see the Pus Hirion on 1 Chronicles 2:8-10, Ab Ano, Sexagesimo et Levita Ministrare, against Numbers 8:25, et Miletus Pugnare Descendabant Patrol Lat 23 1433, 8 Numbers 11:16, C Harioth 1:4, but Sanhedrin 36b, a Zakin must not serve in the highest court. The reason given, he will lack compassion, quoted from Jubilees 23:11 in a different recension. See Deveau Revue Biblique 56, 1949, page 602. See 2023. So previous to what we got here. 9, the same spelling as 212. In Jubilees 23:11, this corresponds exactly to et erunt transuntas ab ipsis spiritus intellectus eram. This suggests that the odd ascension C-inf was in the Hebrew text of Jubilees. It may have developed from BH Nam C-inf, conique syntax, section 229. It does not help much to read Lasir Hif as then Hifil, right? As then Amar could only mean he intended. Perhaps a lacuna should be assumed. 10 Targumic ab la Pal Aramaic, Palestinian Aramaic, maybe. Yeah, they call their language Armya. Adla de Sir really ad la Noldek, section 267, as against the Syriac, Galilean, Babylonian Aramaic, Abdella perhaps. Our form here is the origin of the Targand CPA forms in BH. Ad is a conjunction, GK, section 164D, but not in Aramaic. So translated by Setha in Leviticus 12, 4, 6, CD 3, 4, 11 in contrast to washing, 11:22, see also 11:1, for mixtures which make water unfit, see Mikwa'ath 7, cleanliness is not required in rabbinic law. And with attributes would have been expressed by asyendeton, see lines 2 and 6, i.e. me'utim, mh, not in Mishnah, mh, mekedeh, wrongly biblicized, Exodus 36:5, see Nahum, or Nehemiah, Nahum 2:4, Horalu, which the Targum translates as wrapped in colored garments. See also Re'aloth, Isaiah 3:19, explained wrongly by Shabbath 6:6, 8b as Klanidia. The rendering veil in Isaiah is late medieval. The older rendering is bells. Minimum size required by Rabin 4b in Karaites, but not so at least Aboda Sarah 544d by Samaritans. 12, so B, Nazir 38a, some error 610, Schechter amends, let him not purify himself in water, Bami of a vessel, in Mikwa'ath 1:1, the lowest grade of static water, as here, it becomes unclean through intentional contact only. 13, same error as in 12:2, D 7:16, read Ish, Ashur, Ba Rabim. For Be before technical phrases is Segal, page 172, middle, 223, also 8:2. In Rub terminology, rabbinic, I guess we're saying drawn water, Mayim, She, Uvim, Ma Mekwa, Oth, 2:4. And we've gotten as far in the program as we had hoped to get, but I will probably continue. 14, Shema'eh, Mekilta, Rabbi Simeon, Yithro, 28, applied Shemor, Deuteronomy 5:12, to safeguarding the end of the Sabbath. The Karaites, as does our sect, to the beginning. The addition is already mentioned. Just BJ 4:9-12 during twilight, but was not legally binding. Well, see, it shouldn't be legally binding that you delay the sunset prayers or the breaking of the Sabbath till the stars show up if you know that it's night. J. Shiba'ith 1133a, though it is today. 15, biblicized for MH, Galgal, Ha, Chamath. Oh, what's the reference? Because there's there are 10 verses that people say is reincarnation or something, but that's not entirely really what's said. That's a later interpretation. 16, i.e. the ones described in Enoch 30, Enoch 30, Enoch 72:3, i.e. by its own diameter, Schechter emens be meloo, all of it, J berkoth, to be J. There's no j sound in that language. When the orb of the sun begins to sink, but then chalk is difficult, so the orb has to be below the horizon, but definitely you prepare along the way, right? Equivalent to Deuteronomy 5:12, 18, see D7:9. He who utters a lewd word 3 months, see also D10:22. But why forbid on Sabbath something so severely punished all week? Amend perhaps with bakher, to vanity, havel, and emptiness, rik. See the variant reading quoted by Ginsburg in Just Shabbath 15a. One must not utter unnecessarily words on the Sabbath. Well, it's good not to speak just to speak. This seems to be a Palestinian tradition, as it appears also in Yana'eh Machzor, edited by Zulay, page 98, number 44. One must not multiply idle talk. Se'ach, on Sabbath, less definite. Bush, 150a, BH and MH. See Raka, Matthew 5:22. The rabbinical use of Raka, Strek, Billerbeck, 1:278, shows that it means scoundrel, not fool. Well, in Arabic we have this talk of ignorance as something more than just not knowing, more than just an emotional expression. It's an ignorant thing. It's a violation. Permitted Shabbath 23:1. The full phrase 12:6. So ta Erubin 4:5. No defense permitted if the attack is only for robbery. C 11:15. And if all discussing business is forbidden, Shabbath 150a, Isaiah 58:13. Quarreling prohibited, T's Sanba 19a, 19, Isaiah 58:13, MH, Bikurim 3:2, plural, right? So Jubilees 58, where restore will do something after it, Shabbat 150a, 20, paragraph of Isaiah 58:13, translated with the Targum 21, i.e. he must not stay near the Sabbath limit to await darkness. So Shabbath 23:3, paragraph of Numbers 35:5, hence town in spite of 7:6 and so on, 1000 in verse 4. The next 3 words seem to have been written later by the same hand, but with a different pen, perhaps because they struck the copyist as queer, unusual, and he left them open for consultation. Well, you sometimes run dry of, something goes wrong with the pen or the ink or something, and you have to change it, open a new one or mix a new one or whatever. Not in the manuscript, but corresponds perhaps to the hexapletric. Epia? Are they supposed to be drawing an A or something before the first Alpayim? What's that supposed to be? In the verse, the prohibition to travel, because you want to think that maybe there's like some like letter or number or something written in, some of that stuff there, but we have dots. The prohibition to travel is derived from Exodus 16:29. The rabbinic limit of 2,000 cubits, let's just say 18 inches on average, from Numbers 35:5 in the late Tanchuma, edited by Buber. Bamidbar 9 is from Joshua 3:4, but Rabin 51a admits it might have been fixed as 1,000 cubits after verse 4. The rabbinical limit is historically attested at Gezer, where one group of boundary stones, my ancestors used a lot of boundary stones and stuff like that, is roughly 2,000 cubits from the nearest point of the wall. McAllister, Gezer 138, Numbers 1-3 and 6, and in Acts 1:12, the top of the Mount of Olives being about 2,000 cubits from St. Stephen's Gate. Well, if you have to go further to use the restroom each day, that's whatever. Our sect apparently exploited the double indication of, in Numbers, 1,000 cubits for walking, 2,000 for pasturing cattle. 11:6. Note that Rabbi Eliezer, folio 100, from around 100 of the Common Era, states that the 2,000 cubits were for fields and vineyards. M. Sota 5:3. 22. So Jubilees 2:29-58. T's Sen 19a, Rabbinic. 23. Same error is in 9:2-14. C. Pesha Chin 4:8. The men of Jericho ate fallen fruit from under the trees on Sabbath, and the sages restrained them. Well, they didn't pick the fruit, but also prohibited by Karaites. See Nimoy, Car Anthology, page 210. Rabbinic Me Rabin 8:6-8, and T's Senb permit drawing water from a well inside a house, Jubilees 58, and Karaites Hadassah 56a forbid. Reb, however, forbids to draw from a water course, even inside a courtyard. LC 8:7, by allowing it anywhere inside the camp, our sect is, for once, more liberal than rabbinic. And let's take a look here, what we're looking at, because see, we're running into different things. We're still in page 11. Wait. Do we flip a page? Okay, I guess not. Because we started that last time, right? Okay. Now we're starting, we're ending, and then we're starting. So 11:1, i.e. outside the town within the Sabbath limit, a river outside the camp is a separate reshuth, as in rabbinic, any running water. The paragraph of Exodus 2:5, bathing for pleasure is forbidden by the flashes, permitted by Betza 18b, but to Betza 2:2, the Shemaites prohibited ritual bathing. Well, the ritual bathing should be the only one allowed if you're gonna whatever. Late BH, Daniel Nehemiah Chronicles 2 C 1023. The rabbinic tradition forbids even walking with a wet body, but Shabbat 141a. Well, you don't want to be too exposed to whatever, but see Isaiah 56 3-6. Only occurrence with the definite article. Jer 14:4-6. These were not bound by all laws. Shurer 375, Isaiah 56:6, as also Nilwim, the technical term for the sect's neophytes, 4:3, paragraph of Isaiah 58:13, i.e., something forbidden to an Israelite. So the Makilta, Pischa 9:9b, Shabbath 150b with regard to non-Jews, but the rule line 14 excludes the non-Jew here. 3. Nearest to this meaning, 2 Samuel 13:19, but there is dust, not clothes. See Zechariah 3:3, the Talmudic gazah from the Persian. Frankincense would remove the musty spell, but hardly replace washing to remove ritual uncleanness. 4. MH form Segal, page 81 of a MH verb. Clean clothes must be worn on Sabbath. Mechilta, Rabbi Simeon, Yethro 28, page 107. Festivals, Mechilta, Pischa 9:12a, and New Moons, Jubilees 31:1. Ezra is said to have ordained washing clothes for Sabbath, but Baba Kama 82a. Well, if anybody's going to have extra material, it would be Ezra, right? Fasting on Sabbath is forbidden, Jubilees 50:12. Tees Sunb Rosh Hashanah 19a. But even going hungry until noon is not allowed. Josvita 54, Tanith 3:2-67a. Such fasting would result from extending prayers and so on. As written, the word might mean make a wager. R.B., the sectarian term for pooling property, D6:17 and so on in MH, Le Ratzon. And we have the paragraph 5, see the paragraph of Numbers 35:5-6, see 10:21. If our interpretation is right, the sect did not accept the principle cattle and utensils are like the feet of their owner, Mepatza 5:3, but on the contrary extended the owner's limit to suit his cattle, thus translated by 70 akva in Ezekiel 21:18, used in the sense Kelim 17:12. And in the pre-70 AD song Ta Menachoth 13:21, see Sokotre, Gruf, Korber, Amharic, Gar Fafa, Obese, Targum's Old Latin, Ethiopian, Speculum, Sadia, and so on, translates as some kind of implement. These may be due to Numbers 35:16. See also Barzel, Sanhedrin 9:1. Sid Haras, Josephus's Antiquities 4:833. But such an implement could be neither carried on Sabbath nor lifted from the ground, being Muktzeh. Line 11. 7. Beating prohibited. Jubilees 50:12. Tees Sunb. Using force to catch domestic animals prohibited. Mashbath 14:1. This extended use of the verb is based on Jeremiah 17:22 and also employed by Shbath 1:1. though only the school of Kasara'a, based on the prohibition of Jeremiah, the others on Exodus 36:6, Sija Shibuath 1:1, 32c. The prohibition was not accepted by some. Horiath 1:3. The Gemara says, the Sadducees, a non forbid only carrying upon one shoulder, Nehemiah page 17. 8. The Sept seems to hold, like Josephus's Antiquities 3:10-4 and Rabbi Eliezer B'Shakoth 9a, that each family must have its private booth for tabernacles, since only then can a doubt arise. The rabbinic way permits carrying into a chatzer, hence also in and out of a private booth. 9 MH forms, Shufim line 4. The rabbinic permits even a breaking of a vessel. Shabbath 22:3, specifically if mended with pitch. Shulchan Aruch 1:214. Only R. Judah forbids piercing a cover. Some Jews in Arabia in the 1st century of the Common Era, although it is allowable to smear pitch over the opening of a vessel. Mishnah, same source. Hence, perhaps amend to Al Yetuah, let him not smear pitch upon the opening of a vessel. And let's not skip ahead here. But and this is where we're going from here. 10. The plural of some, see the Syriac plural, samana, spices, medicaments, paints. The rabbinic forbids carrying perfume, 6:3, or antimony, 8:33, in containers, but permits going out with plasters and bandages, 6:5, or medicaments in the mouth, 5, 3-5. Well, antimony doesn't have to be in terms of just pure makeup. It can, a darkness around the eyes can prevent a person from going blind, or the irritation from the harsh sun and stuff. But MH and BH, Isaiah 40:15 only, the technical term used in discussing Muktzeh laws, Msha 17:1, see Leviticus 25:29, for the possibility of such an error of 1:7-11. The dust of the house is Muktzeh, Bush 50a, also the stones, unless regularly used for a specific purpose. Shulchan Aruch 1:208-13. The Essenes move no vessel. Josba 2:8-9. The paragraph of Numbers 11:12. See Genra 1:1. In the sense of MH, Tanakh, not suckling. The permission to carry a living being on Sabbath, 10:5, 21:1, Tush 8:18, Bush 94a is Tush 8:34, linked with the name of Nathan, the Babylonian, full 165. The patriarch Judah seems to have forbidden it. Mush 18:2, Belkin, Philo, and Oral Law, page 203, suggests that the sect permitted carrying, but only by the parent. See the next law. Well, if somebody needs help, somebody needs help. 12 PL to Sanhedrin 5.2 in printed editions, Hif, to let animals race. See the Syriac, Eth Mare, to race. The Arabic, Mre, to urge on. Not Gentiles, see line 2 and 12:11. And especially if you're just saying, you're not of our group. Because a goy is somebody who turns their back on God. Guya. Well, what do you expect if the people who say if it's the rule that those who are of God aren't going to help those who are, included in Sabbath, rest, also Tush, 14:4 and 14:12 to 14. And Rub, a slave may do the work which is not forbidden, but Philo, like 2:66-68, forbids this. Perhaps the slave was allowed to do the work, but the master was not allowed to tell him to do it. Medieval Jewish law makes similar distinction with regard to a Gentile doing the work ordered by a Jew. The Essenes, of course, had no slaves. See Philo, Quad, Omnis Probus 79, quoted by Eusebius, Prop. Evan 8:11-4. Now, in America, Jews were 4 times as likely to own slaves as Christians were. And I think it's even more likely now that it's illegal. Both the system, incarceration system, being used as sort of a replacement for that, less than it is as a penalty or prevention system. And in terms of the illegal market, you can buy slaves. And no, I don't have links. 13. So Shabbath 18:3 in Rub, only extracting the fetus is forbidden. 14. Rub Judah, folio 150, permitted holding the young during birth so that it does not drop. 128b, Rub 3rd century, to lay food and means of escape before an animal fall into a pit. Same source, Matthew 12:11, and so on, shows that popular practices were more liberal. And, liberal, not as liberal and conservative is a political thing, is stupid. And left and right is like whichever political party we decide is one or the other. No, there's actual right and left in terms of types of politics, not just political parties. It's, so it's particularly when reading these old books, we get kind of confused a little bit sometimes. Some people do. 15, Rabin 62a, makes it practically impossible to share a house with a Gentile on Sabbath. In Accra, they did not sit on the Gentile's chair on Sabbath. Ja Pesachin 4:1, 30d, the Samaritans deduce from Leviticus 23:3, in all your habitations the same as our law. Reschner, page 13, the Karaite Sahal, see Metzlech of the 10th century, accuses the rabbis of consorting with the Gentiles on the Sabbath in Jewish houses. Nimoy, page 115. See Numbers 33. The word is te arubin 4:5, used as a technical term for carrying arms and fighting on the Sabbath. We see te arubin, i.e. Maccabees 2:40, Z 10:18, 16 in contrast to property. So te arubin, I see and see also mh pekuach nefesh. The technical term for these laws, 17, are amend, afel, dark, les zinske, see yoma, 84b. If a child gets locked into a room, one may break down the door. 2, Bayoma, look, whoever is quickest about it is most laudable, even if it proves unnecessary. Ba, Menachoth, 64a, but See Buyoma 84b on utensils. Schechter and Charles supply a lacuna after place and translated "let no man bring him up," but this would necessitate a different interpretation also for line 15, and no ancient sect is known to have denied the right of Pekwach Nefesh. The Epicureans, whom Maimonides' code Shabbat 2.3 quotes as opposing this principle, are probably Karaite contemporaries of his. Epicurean is not necessarily, the Greeks had a term for pleasure seeker, and Epicurean was not it. And I'm going to stop there and show you real quick the abbreviations because they make that so difficult. Yeah, rabbinic law. Okay, I should just say the rabbinic law.